right, well, let's get us going. Hi everyone. My name is Alexis Eaglin, and I'm a HubSpot certified trainer here on the Simple Strat team. And I'm just here to welcome you to our New and Now series. So today we are going over the HubSpot product updates for May 2024. In our New and Now series, we essentially cover all of the newest updates that are released, things that we're most excited about, and really give you some real life use case examples that are designed to help you get those results that you're looking for and really take your HubSpot portal to the next level. So again, we do host these every single month, so be sure to stay connected with us in some way so that you never miss out on those next ones. So what we're covering today, we've got lots of updates actually on new UI and different ways that you can customize, and probably some new navigation and all sorts of things going on that are constantly being changed. We've got some new cool things going on with goals, as well as some very cool workflow analysis tools. One of the biggest updates, I think, is also the new HIPAA compliance. So not necessarily applicable to everyone, but if it's something you've been waiting for, that's really, really big news for you. As well as some improvements to email analytics and much, much more. Just some general housekeeping for things about our webinars. So please feel free to ask questions anytime. Just drop them in that Q&A. I'll be moderating those, and then we'll answer those at the end of today's session. This is always recorded as well, so you will get the recording and the slides within the next day or two. Just depends on how long that takes to process, but you'll definitely be getting those so you can share that with your team. And just be sure that you always follow along with the different updates that you're interested in. Sometimes that small upgrade could really unlock a new world for you when it comes to what you can do with HubSpot. So feel free to ask us questions about that along the way as well. If you are not familiar with Simple Strat, this is your first time joining in, we are a Diamond level solutions partner. So we really focus on helping you get the most out of HubSpot. So we offer lots of different ways of support. So if you are just looking for purchase assistance and have some questions about upgrades, happy to help with that, as well as implementing any of the updates that we're talking about today, or maybe some other ideas. Maybe you've recently inherited a portal that is a complete mess and you can't make heads or tails of what's going on with it. We provide some audits and help you get those things streamlined. So it's just really taking you guys to the next level. So always feel free to check us out at simplestrat.com/consult. So with that, I will kick things over to our fearless leader here, Tyler Samani-Sprunk, who is the host of our webinar, as well as the founder of Simple Strat.
Thanks, Alexis, and welcome everyone. If you didn't notice at the beginning, I was muted, but I was having like a nice coughing fit. So hopefully that is out of the way and we're smooth sailing for the rest of the webinar here. But lots of exciting updates as always. HubSpot product team has been crazy. I think they put out like 90 some updates in the updates list last month. So we'll take you through, not all 90. I can't talk that fast. I talk fast, but not that fast. So we'll cover the most important ones that we think will have the biggest impact for y'all in your portal. So we're going to start off with the updates that are applicable across all of the hubs of HubSpot. And if you're new here, if this is your first time, just give you a quick rundown of what the slides look like. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the name of the update. If you want to go do research or anything like that after the webinar and are looking for the updates, we use the same name that HubSpot uses. And so you should be able to put that into the search bar, put that in the product updates section and find that. And then directly below that, we've got the status of the update. So if it's live or in beta, and if it's in beta, whether that's a public or private beta, as well as what hubs and tiers it applies to. So this first section will apply across all of the hubs. So the first update we have for you this time, if you've been using HubSpot this month, you've probably already seen it, and you've either loved it or hated it. It's a change. So most people have kind of started off hating it and then started to maybe get used to it. But that is the new navigation. So you've probably seen that. We moved from the top bar to the left-hand side, and they moved where everything is for you, which again is frustrating when that happens. But the reason behind it is because the HubSpot platform has grown immensely since they had launched those initial kind of marketing and sales categories across the top. And HubSpot is kind of recategorizing that, allowing you to more easily discover things across the portal. And so I've been using it. I used it in beta. I've been using it for, I don't know, a few months now. I do think I like it better, but it does take a little bit of getting used to. But one of the things that they announced recently was allowing you to bookmark things. So if there are things that you are going to, but not like you're going to often and you're kind of struggling to find them, or if there are, if based on your role, there's kind of a collection of tools that you use that maybe HubSpot hasn't grouped together, but would be handy for you to group together, you can bookmark them into the bookmark section. So right now, the only things that can be bookmarked are things that live in the navigation. So you can't bookmark like a specific dashboard, but you can bookmark the dashboards tool, for example. So the way that you add a bookmark is you find the tool that you want to bookmark in the navigation here. And then you'll see this little icon. You click on that icon and it'll be added to this bookmarks section here. And you can add up to 5 of them. So for example, one of the main roles that I serve at Simple Strat is leading our sales team. And so on my bookmark section, I have my prospecting, my deals view, my dashboard that I'm going to all the time, and my forecast reports. So if you're a sales manager or have a sales manager, that's an example of grouping together a few tools that you use a lot that right now live in a bunch of different places in the navigation and grouping them all together in one place for you in that bookmark section. So that is live as of, I think, last week, the week before. So you have access to that in your portal already. While we're on the path of kind of customizing the HubSpot CRM to make it better for you, easier for you, and your users across the portal, HubSpot has launched what they're calling their CRM card library. So maybe you've seen this before. You've been able to add cards to the overview tab in the center pane, or different association cards and things like that to the right-hand sidebar and to the preview sidebar. So now we've got, all of these cards that maybe you and your team have been creating. Maybe you've had a developer use some of the UI extension cards, and it's been kind of difficult to see, okay, what are all of the cards we have available in our CRM and where are they displayed right now? And so what HubSpot has done is created one kind of library of all of these cards for us. So it's going to show all the cards that have been created, where they're displayed, and it's going to allow you to create, edit, and delete those cards right from that view as well. And that's going to be under the record customization tab. So if you go to any object that has a view, so a contact, a company, a deal, if you go to their settings, you'll see a record customization tab, and this will live under there. It is in private beta, so you have to go to the product update section and request that, but then you'll have access to that. Another update related to cards is HubSpot has been kind of slowly releasing more and more things that you can do with cards without requiring a developer over the last couple of months. And this month has been no exception. So one of the cards that they've given us is this activity totals card, where we can see very easily in one of the middle tabs. So if you've got, depending on your license, you may only have the overview tab, or you may be able to create custom ones as well. It's going to give you kind of a summary of the activities that are logged to that card. So it's great for sales reps, managers, to really gauge how much has happened with that record. It's going to show your total number of email calls, meetings, and tasks. And it's also going to allow you to click on that and drill down so you can actually see the content of, like see all the emails or see all the calls that have been logged if you want to click in and drill that. If that's easier for you to see than going to the kind of standard activities tab. So that also is live and available today that you could add to any record that you would like to. And another new card type for us. This one I'm actually a little bit more excited about. So this one is allows you to, within a record, see properties from an associated record. So in a company record, you can see properties from an associated contact record. So allow you to choose a few properties. I think it's up to 8 properties that you'd like to see for that associated object. And it will also allow you to edit those properties from the object that you're looking at. So basically allows for quicker and more efficient workflows. You can see things and edit them without having to navigate and wait for those page loads, which HubSpot has been doing a lot across the platform, is making things easier for you to see and change without having to click through and wait for pages to load. So that was kind of the impetus behind like the leads object, the prospecting workspace as well. So they're doing that across the portal. So there's a couple exciting use cases, or maybe not that exciting, but definitely helpful use cases for this tool. So let's go through a few of them. So one of them might be you want to update an associated company. when you're looking at a deal. So let's say a salesperson, they're on a call or at a meeting and they're in the deal record updating some things or taking some notes. And while they're there, they notice that, or they learn what a company's annual budget for your product category is. And that annual budget lives on the company record. Well, if they had that displayed on this card, they could see it if they already knew it. But once they learn it, they could also just edit that property right there without having to navigate over the company, find that property, things like that. Similarly, let's say you're viewing a ticket and you want to update a contact. So for example, you're in a ticket, working through a support issue, and a customer gives you new contact information, an updated phone number, an updated email address. You could update that contact record right there from within the ticket. Another example would be you're on a call with multiple contacts from a company. You're meeting them for the first time maybe, and you're finally learning all of their job titles. And so we've got multiple contacts that we want to update job title. And rather than bounce to each of those contacts, we could there's a quick toggle that'll change which associated record properties you're looking at. So you could toggle through those contacts real quickly and change those job titles just right within the company record. And then one way to kind of use this on a more macro level is, let's say you've got, company properties or company information that you're storing on contact records, like industry or office address. Rather than having to store that on a company record or on a contact record rather, and have a workflow, copy things over, or use the new sync properties, you could just display the company properties right within that contact record and then be able to not just view them, but also edit them from within the contact record as well. So lots of ways to use this to just kind of streamline some workflows for you. And then last thing with cards, and then I'll stop talking about cards for a second. HubSpot has also made it easier for you to edit the record page layout. So previously, this has been in a bunch of different places. If you wanted to edit the property cards on the left-hand side, you went to one place. You wanted to update customize the center pane, you went to another place. You wanted to update the right-hand sidebar or preview sidebar. They all lived in different places. Now they brought it into one tool. It looks similar to what it used to look like to customize just the center pane, but now they've added options to customize the left and right pane, all from within this view. So this is in beta, but I played with it a little bit. It's a much more intuitive way to be able to adjust the layout. And then if you're on professional or higher, you've already been able to customize the layout specific for each team, and you can do that from directly in here as well. And they've also added some new settings for you to have more control over what individual users can edit for their own layout. So if there's things you want to lock in place and they can't reorder things, or they can't add new properties to property cards, you can lock that in place. Or if you want your users to have kind of free reign to customize the layout for their own view, you can also kind of unlock all of that. So that's also some new capabilities across the record layout editor there. So now moving to a few workflow updates here. There's become some kind of scattered throughout the webinar. So one update, it has potential to be very exciting. The use cases are limited. We're going to talk about a couple use cases, but it is in private beta, so I'm hoping to see it expand as it goes out publicly. But what they're allowing us to do is remove and update association labels. So as you probably know, when we have two objects associated, contact a company and a deal, we can apply a label to that. That was all manual before. So now what we can do is we can update or remove those labels. We cannot add new labels. So if we've got two objects that are associated already and we want to add a label, this tool does not allow us to do that yet. But if there is already a label there, we can update it or remove it in a workflow. So that's the update that's in private beta here. So a couple use cases for that. Let's say you need to fix an error in bulk. So maybe you made an import and you put the wrong label. You import a bunch of contacts and companies, and you had the label as user, but actually these were all decision makers for those companies. So we can real quickly run a workflow to fix that error in bulk. Another thing would be, let's say you've got an association label in your HubSpot that you no longer need. So one example would be when association labels came out, people were still trying to figure out how to use them, and maybe your team kind of went crazy and added a ton of labels in there, and now it's time to streamline those down. Or maybe you had a partner program and you no longer have that. Things like that, where you no longer need those labels, we can now bulk remove those. So limited use cases, powerful if you need them, and then I'm really hoping that we get the ability to add new association labels as this tool comes out of private beta. So we'll kind of see how that evolves. And again, with association labels, this tool has a little bit more use cases. So this would be, it is one where I'm excited to see a few changes as it comes out of private beta. But when we're creating new records in HubSpot, we can now require that an association label be added with an associated record. So we add a contact record, and we can require that a company is associated to that contact and an association label is added there. So I'll show you a couple of use cases for that because I know it's kind of confusing to talk about. It does require that you have the association. So this is what I hope changes. It's not that if you add a contact and you associate it to a company, it requires a label. If you require the label, it also requires that you associate it to that company. So it's a little bit limited in that way, but there's still a few great ways to use it here. So let's walk through those. So let's say every time you create a ticket, you not only want to make sure that there's a contact associated to that ticket, you want to make sure that you have a contact associated that is labeled as the initiator of that ticket. So that would be one example for how to use this. Another one would be, let's say every time you create a deal, you always want your deals to be accredited with contacts. And every time a deal is created with a contact, you always want them labeled based on their buying role, like they're a decision maker or just an influencer. You can do that. Require companies to have associated contacts labeled with their role. So again, every time you create a company, you always want them to be associated to a contact, and you always want to make sure that contact has a label with their role, similar to the deals example. And then custom object use cases, there are a lot of them. So just one specific one, just to get the wheels turning for you. Maybe you've got a custom object for events. And every time you create an event, you always want to make sure they're associated to a contact, and one of those contacts is labeled as the organizer. So again, it's mandating the association and it's mandating the label. You can choose whether or not, like this last example, you have to have an organizer, so you have to have a specific label, or that you just require any label, so that it doesn't matter what the label is, but that you always have some label. And then if all of these updates sound exciting to you, but you've got a big team, big portal, and you don't like to be surprised by updates, you want to make sure you've heard about the update and you've had a chance to think about how it can impact you before you just see it pop up in your portal or have users see it pop up in their portal. You can now request that your account be kind of added to the end of the list. So a lot of these new features get kind of gradually rolled out. So I'm sure it's not random, but it seems random on how they pick portals for who gets new features. And so what you can now do is you can say, add me last. Make sure I've gone to this webinar, heard people talk about the update, thought about how it's going to impact me before I just see it in my portal. This is only limited to enterprise accounts, but honestly, if you don't have an enterprise account, you're probably not going to be impacted greatly by an update in a negative way. So ironically, this feature is in public beta, so you have to request it, but that's available to request today. And then this one is big. Technically, this update came out in June, not May, but I couldn't breeze past it. We added it to the deck this morning. It came out yesterday. I think last month or the month before, I talked about HubSpot having a beta to start including sensitive data, but the HIPAA wasn't included. And that was the big change yesterday, is now you can store HIPAA data in HubSpot. So if you are a medical provider working in the medical industry, have HIPAA data, you can put it in HubSpot. You can use the properties for a lot of things. You can export those properties. You can use them for lists and things like that. The only thing you can't use them for is personalization tokens, and some specific things like copying them over to a sandbox. But they're pretty powerful. Basically, you turn this on in your portal, and this GIF that's rolling through here is kind of showing you how to do that. Then when you create a property, you say, yep, this property is going to be used to store sensitive data, and yep, this sensitive data does relate to HIPAA. And then that property will be marked that way. You can set permissions and things like that specific to those properties. So it is enterprise only, but this is a big update. I know people in the medical industry have either been kind of steering away from HubSpot, honestly, or they've been trying to manage multiple systems and things like that and bounce back and forth a lot to see and use that data. So big update for people that HIPAA applies to. All right, so we're not done yet, but just kind of brief intermission here. I want to talk to you about a couple webinars that we have coming up that I think that you'll enjoy. So the next one we have coming up is on June 18th. It's a different day for us because we'll be off for the Juneteenth holiday on the 19th. But Tuesday, June 18th, Allie, my partner, will be talking about B2B case studies. So how to build them, how to use them. One of the things that we hear a lot is, hey, I've got HubSpot. I bought HubSpot so I could nurture my people better. I want to have nurturing sequences and I want to have, or nurturing drip campaigns, and I want to have sequences for my salespeople. What should I say? And the first thing we ask is, well, what kind of content do you have to put in those emails? Because you can only send so many like, hey, just checking in emails, right? We want to give them valuable content. And case studies are a great place to start in that. And you always want to make sure you've got a good library of case studies. So Ali will not only be talking about how to build those case studies, but also how to use them. So if you've already got case studies, still recommend attending. Maybe there's some opportunities to improve those case studies, but definitely how to deploy those effectively is what she'll be going over, and you'll get a lot of value out of that to be able to enhance those drip campaigns and sequences. And then, of course, I'll be back next month. We'll be right before the 4th of July, so you can kick off the holiday by listening to all the exciting HubSpot updates. So it'll be Wednesday, July 3rd, and we'll be going over everything that came out in June. All right, so now we're going to go to some updates that apply to more than one hub, but not all of them. So a lot of these are going to be like Sales and Service Hub or Everything But Content Hub. So let's start going through those here. Sorry, there's a really loud garbage truck outside my house. So if you can hear that, I apologize. This is how you know we're doing them live. So this first update in the multi-hub section here is another update for workflows, and we're finally getting an analyze tab for workflows. So this basically applies to if you have workflows, you can get into this beta. And what they've done is add a tab here at the top called Analyze. If you're used to any other tools in HubSpot, emails, landing pages, forums, you're used to this Analyze tab. Basically, just like all those other tools, it combines performance data across workflows and puts them into one nice dashboard for us. So there's a lot of exciting things that you can do here. So one example would be you want to see how your workflow usage has evolved over time. So essentially the number of enrollments into workflows, number of objects that have been enrolled into workflows, how has that changed over time? So you might be asking questions like, or your leadership might be asking questions like, okay, we bought HubSpot to add a lot of automation. Are we actually increasing the amount of automation we're using over time? So that's just one quick way you can use this. Another one is for troubleshooting. So let's say, you build into your workflow as an admin, you want to check this once a month, once a week, and see, are there any kind of big spikes or dips that might require us to, take a second look at that and see, did we have some sort of error that accidentally enrolled a bunch of people into workflows, or did an automation break and we saw a big dip in enrollments? So nice kind of high level guidance to start some troubleshooting and identify places that might require further investigation there. And then another little tool that I like is it'll show you the number of workflow enrollments by object. I will say I hate this graph. I'm not a big fan of graphs that like have a kind of standard or like a logarithmic increase in the axis, like 0 to 10 and then 10K to 100K. It's a big difference. So the graph's a little bit misleading visually, I think. But what it does show you is it shows you the number of records you have of that type. So number of contacts in your system in this case, then the number of contacts that have been enrolled in the given time period that you have set for the Analyze tab filter. And so what it does is it kind of shows you this comparison across your record types and gives you an opportunity, or gives you kind of a high-level overview of opportunities that you might have to increase automation in your platform. So in this example, there's no automation around goals. So interesting. Let's think about, are there ways in our workflow right now that we're doing some manual work with goals that we could automate that we just never thought of before? Maybe you didn't even know workflows could do goals. So nice little opportunity overview there. Another update for workflows. I mentioned we'd have quite a few for workflows. This one is pretty slick. So what it allows you to do is allows you to, in the workflow editor view, so the same place that you add your triggers and your actions, you can go to the top and see enrollment history. If you're used to, if you've been around workflows for a while, you've probably seen the old enrollment history, which is kind of like just a list of everybody that's enrolled, and that still exists. But this one is much more visual, and so it makes troubleshooting workflows, answering questions, things like that a lot easier. So what it'll allow you to do is it'll show you a list of everybody that's enrolled on the right-hand side. Then you can click on a record, and what it will do is it'll give you like the steps that they took, but it will also visualize this. So every step that they went through will be highlighted in green. Any step with an error will be highlighted in red. This one would be highlighted in red. It's just, we just have the cursor over there. So it's kind of this like blue color. But then when this one aired out for this record. And when you click on this, it'll expand the associated step here. So you can say, okay, this one aired out. I want to know why it aired out. And so you can look over here, and depending on your screen size, you may not be able to see it, but it says previously unsubscribed from this subscription. So we know exactly where this workflow kind of broke for this contact and exactly why did they not get that email. So pretty slick, nice visual view, nice way to look at some workflows. So most obvious example here is troubleshooting. So you can do things like, you can answer questions like, why didn't this contact get that email? So in the example we just had, they unsubscribed from that. Maybe they're not a marketing contact. So you can figure out why that is. Why did this deal get assigned to the wrong team? It should have been assigned to this team based on the territory, but it got assigned to this team, went to that branch in the workflow. Why did that happen? Which drip series did this contact go down? So we've got a nice complex nurture workflow. We've got different segmented drip series, and we want to know very quickly for a contact, which one did they go down? We could see that. And did this company make it to that step? How far down did they make it? Did they make it to the step that's in question? And then why did this workflow step fail for this contact, but not that one? Again, just questions you might be trying to answer as you troubleshoot your workflows. And I think this is the last workflow one for a second here, but we can now also trigger workflows from Playbook submissions. So great ways to add some more automation into your sales and service teams kind of workflows here. We'll go through quite a few use cases. There are a few use cases for sales teams. But basically what it allows you to do is for any record type that you can log a playbook to, when you go to your workflow actions and select the when an event occurs, workflow triggers, and select a when an event occurs trigger, one of the events that'll be available to you is playbook or playbook log. And then you can kind of refine that so down to a specific filter in that trigger filter here. So a couple of use cases for that. Let's say you want to automatically create a deal every time your team logs a discovery call playbook. So they do their discovery calls, they use a playbook to manage those calls every time. And as soon as they log that discovery call playbook, now we want to create a deal. And if you're an enterprise, one of the things that you can do too is playbooks allow you to define properties on that record from the playbook. So now we could copy properties over from that contact into the deal based on this trigger. So a nice little way to streamline deal creation and automate that for you. Similarly, you could advance deal stages. So let's say you've got a deal stage of needs proposal or proposal pending or whatever, and then you've got another stage of proposal presented. And let's say every time you give a proposal to your prospects, you always do it over a call or in a meeting, and you always guide that call with a playbook. So in this case, every time a proposal review call playbook has been logged, we'll update that deal. We've got a little if statement to make sure we're only doing it to deals that are in the stage previous. But and then it moves that deal over into our presentation held stage. So nice way again to just add a little less or remove some work for your sales team and add a little more efficiency for them. And last example here is, let's say we want to set some follow-up tasks. So in this example, we have, discovery call playbook has been logged. And one of the things that we're setting is we're setting an interest property, either directly on the contact record or through the playbook if we have enterprise. And based on which interest we discover in that discovery call and mark on the contact record, we're going to either send them an email, so you could automate an email, or create a task for your salesperson to follow up. And we can, specify in the task what kind of follow-up we want to send. Or we can choose between two different emails based on their interest. So a little bit more complexity here with some branch statements, but you can start to see how this can be really powerful for, again, streamlining that workflow for your sales teams. Also works for service teams. And also making sure that we're following up with them as needed. All right, I lied. We have one more. This one is kind of workflows. It's automation though. Again, great for sales and service teams. And this is actually not a new tool, but I will say I talk to a lot of people that have Sales and Service Pro that don't know this exists. And I think HubSpot learned the same thing. So if you have sales or service professional, you have a couple opportunities to automate sequences that a lot of people don't know about. In enterprise, you can do all kinds of things because you have triggers and workflows to enroll and unenroll from sequences. So anything you can do in a workflow, you can automate sequences for. But you can do a couple things in Pro that a lot of people didn't know about. And so what the update is, it's actually a UI update. They just made it easier for you to see those things. In my opinion, still not as easy as it could be. But what they did is they add an automate tab. And then at the very bottom of the automate tab, I think it's actually cut off from this screen. There's a toggle switch that allows you to essentially create a workflow from this playbook. And if you're on Pro, it'll give you two options. So it'll give you form submission and page view options. And so these are the two triggers, form submission and page view. And you can do either enroll somebody based on a form submission and a page view, or unenroll somebody based on a form submission or page view. So like I said, that isn't new. But one of the things that I was really excited, the UI update is new, the capability is not. But one of the things I was really excited about in the update was there's one line from the update, and I have this copy pasted here. This is the first step in a larger initiative to improve embedded automation capabilities within sequences. So my hope is, I don't know this, but my hope is that if you're on professional, we'll get a lot more triggers, we'll get a lot more capabilities to use and automate sequences like our enterprise friends already have. So if you didn't know about this, if this is kind of the first time you're hearing about these capabilities, there are a couple of nice use cases for them. So let's say a contact downloads a case study through a form submission. So that would be their trigger. And now we want to automatically enroll them in a sequence with the goal of getting them to book a demo. Let's say kind of for an unenrollment trigger, let's say we're using a sequence to invite somebody to a webinar. Once they register for that webinar, we don't want them to keep getting our emails asking them to register. So as soon as they submit our registration form, then we can automatically unenroll them from that sequence. And then last example here, when a contact views a blog post, send a sequence with some related resources. One thing to just remember if you're on Pro is that these aren't full workflows. They're just simple trigger, simple action of unenroll and enroll. So we can't do things like have an added filter or branch logic about whether or not somebody is a customer or a lead. So you just might kind of keep that in mind. So, this example here, you'd want it to still make sense with the resources that you're sending, even if a customer viewed your blog post. So just kind of keep that in mind, but still pretty powerful that a lot of people don't know about on that professional level for Sales and Service Hub. Okay, more UI changes, and I'm going to say UI improvements. So goals has been kind of, I don't know if kind of like the stepchild of HubSpot. Like it's been around, they added it because people, wanted it, but using goals, I don't know about you, I think it's not great. They're making it better. I'm excited to see them continue to make it better. But there's been some nice updates for us this month. So the first one is the way that the screen that you see when you go to view your goals has gotten an overhaul. So you can view more goals at the same time. You can easily change the frequency. A lot of these things would be like, you couldn't already do this? And no, you couldn't, it sucked. But you can change the frequency of the filter. So what I mean by that is, a lot of the goals you had to like set. You still do. There's a monthly goal, a quarterly goal, annual goal, whatever. But now we can say, I still want to see that in annual terms or quarterly terms or monthly terms. And so you can change that just to the filter level of this view. And then they've also given us, similar to that workflow analyze tab, they've given us a way to kind of get more reporting on our goals. So you can just click into a goal and see performance reports. And many of those reports can be saved to a dashboard. So we can more easily see how we're progressing on goals and kind of see that over time and all kinds of things like that. It's also a lot easier to edit goals. So you can do that from this view in a lot fewer clicks. And then the other goals update that they brought to us is if that performance tab from the last thing I just mentioned doesn't have a report that you want about goals, They also allowed you to now create custom reports based on goals. And so if you go into, this does require professional enterprise, but if you go into the report builder and select the single object report, goals is now an object you can select. And there's quite a few things that you can build reports for. So a couple examples is, let's say you've got multiple revenue goals and you want to see performance compared to all of those goals. You combine them and see performance across all of those goals. You can now do that with a custom goal report here. And then another thing you can do, and there's lots of examples, but just a couple to kind of get your wheels turning. You can see, let's say I want to see performance across multiple goals, but I don't want them combined together. I want to still see them distinctly. We can add multiple goals to the same bar chart, for example. So in this example, we've got two different product lines here, two different goals for those product lines that we can see, okay, what was the goal? What was our performance? And of course, we can filter based on amounts and things like that. So great way to get some custom reporting. And obviously, any custom reports can be added to a dashboard for you. All right. Usually I'm excited about updates. My next one I'm not very excited about. I'm sorry. Commerce Hub, there is going to be an increase. So the silver lining, the HubSpot talk around this is Commerce Hub has gotten a lot of updates. We've talked about a lot of updates to Commerce Hub. We've got one in this month. A lot of new capabilities to automate quoting, automate invoicing, make it easier for you to collect money from customers. However, they've said, we've done all this for you, and now we're going to charge more money for it. And so what they're doing is there's a new an updated fees starting June 24th. So this is the current fees, and this is what the change is. So with Commerce Hub, you can either process payments via HubSpot Payments or Stripe. So a couple changes that are happening. There's a slight increase to the ACH fee for HubSpot process payments. And then the big one is going to be the increase in platform fees. So if you were using HubSpot payments in the past, you only paid HubSpot's processing fee. You didn't technically pay anything for Commerce Hub. And so now that's changing. There's now a 0.5% platform fee on top of the HubSpot payments. And the platform fee for Stripe payments is increasing from 0.5% to 0.75%. So those are the increases. The good news is if you have already processed payments with Commerce Hub, so you've already used HubSpot payments and you've processed a payment by June 20th, you won't see these changes until June 24, 2025. So your current pricing will be locked in for another year. That also means that if you know your team is moving to HubSpot payments, do that now. Do it before June 20th. You have to get approved. So like literally I would leave this webinar and have that conversation today, get approved, process a payment, even if that means you need to run $1 through your portal, process a payment prior to June 20th. And that is in all that information, that image I just gave you is in the product update section. They've got, I think, a knowledge base article, and of course we'll share these slides. So another update to Commerce Hub. This one, everything from here on out is more exciting. So custom invoice fields are now available. So if you've done any invoicing in Commerce Hub, you've known that that template is locked down. There's not a lot you can do with it. You can't really do anything with it. Now we can at least add some custom properties. So HubSpot allows you to create invoice properties. So they're properties related to the kind of invoice object. And you can add them and they'll appear at the top of the invoice here. It might be kind of hard to see depending on your screen size, but this is kind of the standard invoice template, and it'll be over here kind of in this list of information that's standard on your invoices. So a couple of things you might want to add to an invoice with a custom property. Maybe you've got an alternate shipping address. Maybe you've got internal ID numbers that you need to communicate. Maybe you need to tell your client who on their team approved this invoice. Maybe you've got custom dates that you want to communicate, like what date the service is going to start. A details overview property. So maybe you want to do like a quick sentence about, you got a bunch of line items and a quick sentence that just kind of summarizes those. And another one would be, you got a specific point of contact at your company that you want to communicate to the client when you invoice them. So the way that this works is you can require these properties be on the invoice, or you can set it up so that users can have the option to add them, so they only add them when necessary. So like the details overview property, that would be an example of one that probably want to make that optional, right? All right, now we're going to go into our hub specific updates here. So we are kind of in the tail end here, and then we'll open it up for questions. So Marketing Hub has a couple nice updates for us. This one I think is huge. So you probably already know this. If you don't, you need to. When we send marketing emails, a lot of the opens and clicks that we're seeing aren't actually people opening and clicking that. As much as we'd like to believe that, Apple's opening all of our emails, corporate spam and malware and phishing filters are opening them. They're clicking on links. And up until now, HubSpot didn't know the difference, whether a human clicked on that or it was what HubSpot's calling a bot, but basically Apple, these kind of anti-phishing tools. So what HubSpot is rolling out is an ability to see the difference between what is our human engagement and what is like our total engagement that includes the bots. And so you can turn this on or off. So if it's off, what you'll see is the kind of orange bars, like what you see in like your high level reporting is going to include bots. And if it's on, it won't include bots. Either way, you'll always be able to see both stats. It's just kind of which stat, is it the total or just the non-bot traffic that's kind of the secondary metric. So I would recommend turning this on. The only thing to remember is that when you turn this on, if you're looking at like historical open rates and click rates, you're going to see a dip at the moment you turn it on. And if you're comparing to any other email tools, most email tools aren't doing this yet. So you're going to see other email tools reporting a higher open and click rate than you'll see HubSpot, because HubSpot would be filtering out that bot traffic. Again, you can always kind of click in and view this secondary metric, which will show the unfiltered metrics for comparison purposes. But just make sure you don't like scare your bosses basically by why did our open rates drop by 10%? It's like, actually that has been our open rates, but we're now filtering out that bot traffic. So just might be a conversation you need to have before toggling that on. If you're on enterprise, HubSpot is, as you know, doing a ton of stuff with AI. And so this latest AI update is some ways for you to more easily draw insight from your social media interactions. So HubSpot is going to weekly, Monday morning, give you kind of a new report across social media. So it's going to give you 4 pieces of information. It'll give you kind of a written summary, like numbers, and then a written summary beneath that of engagement growth week over week for comments, reactions, and published posts. It'll give you key points on what's performing well for your business and what's not. It'll give you sentiment analysis for your social interactions. So the comments that you're getting, are they positive, negative, neutral? And then it'll also kind of highlight key trends that you might want to engage on. So again, that'll analyze that every weekly morning, every Monday morning. And the only platform that's not included in this that HubSpot manages is Twitter. So you'll be able, or X. So you'll be able to see it across Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, but not X at this time. And then another update for enterprise. This is an update for all of the managers on the call, or managers that you're talking to after the call. You can now manage approvals on mobile. So for a little while now, you've been able to set up landing pages, web pages, emails, things like that, that they require an approval from somebody on your team prior to being published. They'd have to log into their desktop to approve that. Now they can go into the HubSpot mobile app. They can see a list of all their pending approvals and even past approvals they've made if they'd like to. They can add comments to assets directly from there. They can approve things, and they can also request changes directly from the mobile app on their phones. Sales Hub, few updates for our sales folks here. So I know this is more text than I like to put on the screen, but I wanted to highlight this. So what HubSpot is doing, another AI tool, is within the prospecting workspace. If you're on professional or higher and have the prospecting workspace, HubSpot is going to start giving you AI-powered guided actions. So basically giving you kind of a recommended workflow for your sales folks. So it is in private beta. You have to request that and roll in that. But what they're going to do is they're going to kind of give a priority recommendation across everything that's kind of bulleted out here. So newly assigned leads, engaged leads, leads associated to target accounts with engagement. So they'll say, you need to reply to these emails. They'll say you've got this many leads associated to target accounts to follow up with, and they'll kind of prioritize those for the reps. So your reps can come in here, do everything for the first line, do everything for the second line. And HubSpot's basically saying, that is the most optimized workflow for them. So definitely something to kind of experiment with, maybe a pilot with a couple reps while it's in private beta that are a little bit more tech savvy and kind of want to give it a test. I'm intrigued. I think this is really where AI is heading, is helping us be smarter with the tools that we have in ways that we don't even really realize we're using AI. So really excited to see the potential in here. It just came out. I've not used it a ton. So I can't say, how good it is yet, but I would definitely recommend piloting that with a couple folks on your team, just to kind of see what they think about it. And then again, more automation. HubSpot's given us all kinds of automation capabilities. So this one is similar to the Playbooks one, not new functionality, but functionality in a new place that we're used to. So we've been able to automate leads for a little while now, maybe a month or two. We can create workflows that are based on leads. But if you're familiar with creating workflows based on deals, you might be familiar with going into your deal pipeline settings and just building simple automations based on stages right within those settings. And that's the update here, is we can now do that with leads. So within our lead pipeline settings, we can add simple automations just directly in those settings. We don't have to bounce around the workflow tool and all that. We can also see those automations across all of our stages here. So a couple of things you might want to automate within those stages, things like creating tasks for your salespeople at specific stages, notifying managers at specific stages, like maybe a manager wants to know every time an SDR connects with a lead, updating a return to marketing contact properties. Maybe you update a life cycle stage, or you have a return to marketing kind of checkbox. So anytime a lead is disqualified, we want to kick them back to marketing for further nurturing. You could update that property in this. And let's say you just want to send a simple follow-up email to automate that. So as soon as a lead gets assigned a new lead, we're going to either create a task or send an email to make sure they're followed up with as quickly as possible. And then speaking of approvals that we have the update for, the mobile marketing approvals, we have new capabilities to do approvals in our Sales Hub. So just like in Marketing Hub, approvals does require an enterprise license, but HubSpot is allowing us to now add an approval stage to deals. So what this allows you to do is allows you to add one stage to a deal pipeline, be all of your pipelines, but one stage per pipeline. And when a deal reaches that stage, HubSpot won't allow it to advance until it's approved by approvers. So you can select up to 3 approvers in your portal, and you can say all 3 of these people, or if you had 2, all 2 of these people have to approve it, or any of these people can approve it, and then the deal can advance to the next stage. Of course, they'll get notified and all that kind of stuff as well. So a couple of ways you might want to use this. Let's say you've got an engineering or design team that needs to approve something before it's proposed to the customer. We can do that now. Let's say your legal team needs to approve any contract redline requests, and you've got some contracting stages, so you could do that. Manager approval could come at any time in the process, depending on kind of what your process is and when you would need that manager approval, but oftentimes it's going to be before you send out a proposal or before a contract is sent out. Or let's say you've got a multi-step, multi-person sales process, and there's a handoff in the middle of your deal pipeline. This could be a great way to, make sure that the person getting the deal kind of approves that. So has the first person done everything they need to do to kind of set up a good handoff, and that person gets notified, approves that, and moves on. That would be best for a small team because we do have a limited number of approvers, but just a more creative way that you might be able to use this tool. And then last but not least, our Service Hub. We've got, I think, 2 updates here, and then we'll kick it over to Alexis to moderate some questions for us. So first one here is conditional display logic in help desk sidebar. That's a lot of words that don't really mean a lot. Basically, it's another UI customization. So in the sidebar of the help desk for the tickets, your properties are organized into property cards. And what this update allows you to do is show different, essentially, groups of properties based on the value of another property. So it's available in Service Hub, Professional, Enterprise, and this is specific to the help desk. A couple ways you might want to use this. Let's say you've got a ticket category of software troubleshooting. You want to make sure it's immediately obvious to your service reps what software subscription they have, and you've got some properties that store that information. So you can show that card whenever the ticket category is labeled software troubleshooting. Let's say you've got a ticket category for billing related issues, and you want to make sure that your reps have all the information, all the properties related to billing for them. So again, quick access to see that right inside of help desk, and if that's not there, billing's not the issue, we can do that. And then last update here, again, just to get those wheels turning. Let's say you've got a ticket pipeline that manages your onboarding process. Well, it's going to be great for your customer success manager that's managing that onboarding process to have a good understanding of what was talked about in the sales process. So let's say in that sales process, you're storing key pieces of information in properties like pain points, things like that. What did the customer really care about when they came to us to buy this product? Making sure that that's readily available for all of your service folks that are running that onboarding process. So there's a couple examples there. I'm sure that you could take this and run with this based on your process. And then last but not least in the Service Hub, again, we've been adding all kinds of channels to Service Hub over the last few months. So lots of these kinds of updates. The most recent update is that we can connect our third-party calling tools into our help desk experience. Right now, while it's in beta, it's only going to be AirCall, but it is going to expand to other third-party callers. It's going to allow you to do things like when you have an inbound call through that third-party tool, direct it to a specific rep, round robin it, specific groups of reps or teams. You can also, if your third-party tool manages recordings, those will be logged directly to the ticket records, and you can make outbound calls directly from within the ticket so in help desk in the ticket through that third-party tool. Click on a call button in HubSpot, calls through your calling app of choice, all again right within that help desk view. So the whole point of help desk is bring everything together, give you one spot for your customer service reps to work from, and this is just one more step in that direction. All right, I'm going to take a breath and a drink of water and pass it over to Alexis to moderate our questions here.